everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys this Modelones Acrylic kit that they kindly sent me to review and share with you all. So I'm going to swatch all 8 of the colours and then I'm going to do an acrylic design set further along in the video. So this is their Out of This World Acrylic Kit. I will leave a link in the description box below to all of the products I use, so do check that out. The Out of This World Acrylic Kit consists of 8 10-gram acrylic powders, and as you can see they're all quite bright and colourful, so I was really looking forward to jumping in and swatching these to share with you all. So I'm going to start off by using the first colour that I picked out, and that was this gorgeous green shade. So it looked a little bit darker in the pot compared to how it's swatched. Once swatched, it was like a really nice apple green. And I did want to point out that I really loved the consistency of a majority of these colours. There was one that I found that I weren't 100% sure on the consistency, but all of the others I really loved their consistency. They applied really easily and they were really pigmented with quite a creamy texture to them. So I quite like that in an acrylic powder. So as you can see, I'm just painting these acrylic on the underside of a swatch stick, and then when you flip it over you're able to see what the color would look like if it was capped and top coated in a clear. So I like to swatch my swatches this way because this way you can see what the color would look like both glossy and matte, because on the other side it's going to stay matte. So that was the green. Then we're going to move on to the yellow. Now this is a really classic bright yellow acrylic. Although we're now in the UK leaning in to the more autumn nails, I reckon I'd still get some use out of this one in the autumn because of the kind of yellow it is. You know, it's not pastel, it's not neon, it's just your classic bright yellow acrylic, which I do quite like for the autumn, to be honest. Again, this one applied absolutely beautiful. Again, it had that really nice creamy consistency, so it was really lovely to work with. As you can see, I'm kind of patting my bead down and then blending it out. I like to place my bead down and then wait a couple of seconds before starting to maneuver it, as I find that technique works quite well with the Modelones acrylics. So there we have the gorgeous yellow. Now I did also want to point out that I am using the Modelones Slow Setting Monomer for the acrylic powders today. Whenever I'm working with whatever brand acrylic I'm working with, I always like to use the powders and the monomers that are for that brand. So you don't want to be mixing up and using a different brand monomer with a different acrylic powder. So I just wanted to point that out because I know on my channel I do use and work with lots of different brands, but whichever acrylic powder I'm working with, I always make sure that I'm using the monomer for that system. Now in this kit you get 2 blues, so I'm going to start off with the lighter blue. Now I really liked this colour. It's a really pretty soft baby blue colour, or more of a sky blue colour, and it's definitely one that I feel I'm going to get a lot of use out of for winter nails because it has that beautiful icy blue effect to it. It's just such a stunning colour. I'd love to team this up maybe with some blue or iridescent mylar. I think it would look really pretty. Then we have the darker blue, which is more of a kind of want to say a royal blue. It's not as dark as a navy blue. It's definitely more on the classic blue, royal blue side. I'm really terrible at explaining colours, especially when it's 10 o'clock at night and I've had a really busy day, but I just wanted to get this video voiced over and up on my channel because I've had the kit sitting in my drawer for a week or so now and I've been dying to get the video out. So yeah, I apologise for my explanation, but luckily the camera is showing up the colours quite true to how they are. Sometimes I worry when I'm doing swatch videos that the colours can look a little bit different depending on what you're watching on and your lighting and things like that. But luckily in this video, a lot of the colours showed up quite true to life. So now this is the gorgeous lilac they have. Now I have this colour from Modelones already, so you may have seen it on my channel previously, as they did send me this colour a long time ago. And I really liked it because it's actually a transparent lilac, so it's got a different consistency to all of the other acrylics in this collection. It's more of a sheer lilac. It gives off a bit of a glassy effect if you use it slightly wetter than what I have done here, but I built up the colour a little bit just so you could see what it would look like if you did build the colour up. But this is a lot different to the other colours in this kit. However, it's a great one to have because I really love the effect that it gives off. Although it's a lilac, it's definitely one that I would reach for some winter nails as well. So I'm looking forward to getting some use out of this one. Then we have this really beautiful bright pink. I love a pink. You can never have enough pink acrylic, so I'm pleased to have another one in this collection. I do have quite a few other Modelones pink acrylics, but I'm pretty sure I don't have this one. Now again, this one has that really nice creamy consistency. So as you can see, I place my bead down, wait in a couple of seconds, which you might not notice on the video as it has been sped up. Then I'm just tapping and pulling that down. I do work slightly differently when I'm working in the swatch sticks because I do find them a little bit tricky to work with. I kind of just try to fill them up with acrylic so that when it's flipped over you can see the full opaqueness of the colour. But just look how gorgeous this colour is. So this colour here has to be my absolute favourite colour in the collection. As soon as I swatched this one, I knew that I had to put it in a set of nails straight away. So I will be using this one along with the last colour that I'm going to swatch in a set of nails for you today, which you would have seen the set from the thumbnail. But as you can see, this is a really bright kind of tangerine slash coral orange. It's got a little bit of a coral undertone to it. It does look a little bit more neon on camera than it does in real life, but it is such a beautiful bright orange color, verging on to that reddy tone as well, which I really like because again you can still use these bright colors going into the autumn months. Now the last colour we have is a beautiful orange. Now this one was the only one that I found the consistency a little bit tricky with. It did marble a little bit when I placed it down. It's a beautiful colour though, and when you work with it, which you'll see further along in the video when I do a set of nails with it, you can work out the fact that it marbles. Now you do sometimes find this, no matter what brand I've used, I've always found at least one acrylic colour that seems to marble. I think sometimes it can just depend on the pigmentation, but this one, once you started working with it and moving it into place, you worked out that marble. So it's still a beautiful colour, as you can see. So here we have all 8 of the colours. It's a fab coloured kit if you are looking to just get into coloured acrylics because you've got pretty much a good base of colours to start with. So I would highly recommend checking it out. Now let's move on and do a set of acrylic nails. So I'm working on my Glamour Liz practice hand. I've applied my tips and I've done a thin layer of the Modelones clear acrylic. Then I'm coming in with this nudie beige colour. Now this is a Modelones colour. It come in a previous kit that they sent me. So I will find out the name of it or the number and I will leave it linked in the description box below. But off the top of my head, I'm not sure what it's called. I believe the Modelones colours, they either go by the kit they're in or they go by the number. So I will double check because it's not a name, so it's not easy to remember. But it's a beautiful colour and I felt as though I wanted a nude colour that was a bit more, had a bit more of an autumn vibe to it. So it toned down those bright colours a little bit because although it was lovely and hot and sunny today, I do feel as though all the autumn nails are slowly creeping in, especially when I'm scrolling through Instagram. So anyway, let's move on and talk about the nails. So I've come in with my nude. I've placed that bead down and I'm working it into the shape I want my French smile line to be, or my extended nail bed to be. Now, like I said, I'm working with the Modelones slow setting monomer. So it did take a little bit of time to start setting up for me to be able to manipulate that bead into place to create the shape for my extended nail bed. But this is great if you are a beginner because it gives you more time to work with the acrylic. So a slower setting monomer, a lot of beginners find it a lot easier to work with because you haven't got to worry about it setting up too fast. However, I personally do usually prefer to work with a faster setting monomer, but because of how hot it's been here in the UK the last couple of days, it was great to work with a slower setting monomer, to be honest. Now I'm going to leave my extended nail bed to set before I do any more work to that nail because I want to file it crisp. So I'm going to move on to the pointer finger where I'm coming in with the orange. Now as you can see here, there's no marbling in that finished result of the bead of acrylic that's been applied, and that's because I've worked with it, I've blended it, I've patted it into place, and all the pigment has swelled in with the acrylic that it's mixed with, and it's gone on beautifully. So I've put a thin layer of the orange acrylic down, and then over the top of that I'm coming in with this neon orange glitter. This one is from Charlie's Nail Art, and I love it because although it's a glitter, it has a matte effect to it. So I wanted to give it a go over the top of the orange acrylic because I wanted to add a little bit of something extra to the nails rather than just being all acrylic. And then over the top of that, I'm going to jump back in with the nude, and I'm going to start creating a ombre. So I'm placing quite a medium to wet bead of acrylic down and blending that down over the orange acrylic and glitter. It doesn't matter too much if it overtakes the orange because we're going to come in with a little bit more glitter and then some dried flowers over the top of that anyway. But I just want there to be quite a soft ombre. Then I'm going to come in with my cuticle bead, so I'm patting that up into place at the very cuticle, and then I'm feathering it down over the previous bead of acrylic, trying to not take it too far down the nail. We have already started creating the fade, so I just want to build up the rest of the nail. Then I'm going to come in with another small bead just to make sure that that nail bed area is nice and opaque. I'm going to be encapsulating this now anyway, so I'm keeping everything fairly thin to be honest, but I did just want to build up the colour just a little bit more. And then I'm going to come in with another small bead of the glitter just to soften that blend. I wasn't 100% happy with it, so I just come in with a little bit more of that just to perfect that. Now this ombre didn't need to be 100% perfect because I'm going to be coming over the top with some dried flowers, but I just wanted the base of it to look as nice as possible. So I'm popping down a wash of the Modelones clear acrylic, then I'm picking up these orange flowers and I'm setting them down into that clear acrylic. Then what I'm doing is I'm just taking my brush, which is quite wet with monomer, and I'm just pressing those flowers down to make sure that any of the little pieces of the petals are set down in that acrylic and they're not sticking up. You want to make sure anything that you're going to be encapsulating is lying nice and flat so that when it comes to encapsulating, you can encapsulate over the pieces nicely without having to worry about filing into those. So that's why I'm just making sure that I take the time to get them lying all nice and flat. If you do have any pieces that are a little bit troublesome or don't want to stick down, you can do it with a little bit of cling film. So wrap a piece of cling film over the nail and then you'll be able to press those flowers down. But I felt as though they set down in the acrylic nicely, so I'm going to come straight in and encapsulate this nail. So again, I'm using that Modelones clear acrylic, and when it comes to encapsulating, I'm building up the rest of the strength and structure for the nail, and I'm also making sure that I'm encapsulating all of that nail art that we've placed down. I decided to encapsulate this nail now because I need to file the middle finger, so I need to file that extended nail bed, and I don't want any of the dust from filing that landing on top of my glitter and then getting encapsulated in. So at this point I just decided to encapsulate this nail now. Then off camera I did file my smile line just into shape a little bit more and just to make it a little bit more crisp. Then I'm going to come in with that gorgeous bright orangey pink color, and I'm just going to take this on to the very tip of the nail. Now as you can see, I'm taking this right down into those side walls and the wings of the nail. Because I've created quite a deep extended nail bed, you need to make sure that that acrylic gets right down into those wings, so it can be a little bit tricky. So I like to do it in several beads rather than trying to do it all in one bead. Then I'm just patting that out to the very tip of the nail, and then I'm going to come in with another bead and repeat that on the other side. So you'll see here I'm pushing that product right down into the wings of the nail, using the sides of my brush to protect the acrylic, or sorry, to protect the side walls. You don't want to get any of your acrylic onto your skin or your side walls. So I'm using my brush as like a barrier to push that acrylic down into place and also stop it running into the side walls. If you don't feel as though you can do it in 1 or 2 beads, you can come in with as many beads as you need to. just to make sure that you get enough acrylic down, because otherwise if you don't have enough acrylic there, when it does come to doing your finish filing, you'll finish up your filing and you'll have gaps missing, which will be really noticeable when you're doing something like a French nail, and you'll also be compromising your strength and structure. We're then going to move on to the ring finger, and I'm going to be doing a marble on this nail. So I've double dipped into the darker orange and the lighter orange. Place that bead down at the cuticle area just to get a nice neat cuticle line. Then I'm going to come in with all four colours that I've used. So I'm going to come in with the reddy orange, the nude and my clear. And then I'm just going to marble through those. So as you can see, I've brought my brush to a point, and then I'm just swirling through those colours, trying to not play around with it too much. I like to just go up and down a couple of times, and then I'm going to repeat that as we work down the nail. So once again, applying quite wet beads of acrylic. As you can see, they're quite wet because they're starting to run down the nail. Then I'm cleaning off my brush, bringing it to a point, and then I'm just swirling up and down through those acrylic colours, slightly pulling it down the nail. If I do have any little gaps, I'm just going to push the acrylic into place just to make sure it's fully covering my clear acrylic base that I've put down. Then right at the very tip of the nail, I'm just going to finish up with the same process just to make sure that we've completely covered the nail. Now you could come over the top of this with some glitter. Usually that's what I would do when I'm doing a marble, but I absolutely loved how this marble looked as it was, so I decided to leave it like that. Then we're going to move on to the little finger. Now on the little finger, I decided I would do another French nail, but this time we'll use the orange at the free edge. So again, that same process, I'm putting my bead of acrylic down, and you can see that it is taking a little while to set up. That's again because of the slower setting monomer. So whilst I'm waiting for it to set, I'm just starting to push the product into place, just manipulating it and moving it around because I'm a little bit impatient. So I was just faffing. Realistically, you could just give it a couple more seconds to start setting before you start pushing it into place. But here you can see I'm just working with that bead of acrylic anyway, using the belly of my brush to pat the top of the acrylic, and then the sides and very tip of my brush to pat the side walls. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the shape of the extended nail bed as perfect as I can with my brush, so that I then have less filing to do. And this in a way is another bonus for using the slower setting monomer, because you get plenty of time to play around and get that shape how you want it to be. Once I'm happy with the shape of the smile line, I'm going to come in with my cuticle bead. So I'm tapping that up into place at the cuticle area and then blending it down over the previous bead, being really careful to get as close as I can to the cuticle area without touching the skin. And then once again, I've done quite a deep smile line, so I'm cleaning up my sidewalls just to make sure that I've got enough room to get my coloured acrylic down into those wings to create that deep effect for the smile line. I then just popped another small bead over just to get a nice even colour, and also because I'm not going to be encapsulating this nude, so I want to make sure that I've built up the nail enough. Again, whilst I'm waiting for that to set, I'm going to come in and encapsulate the previous nail. So I picked up a medium-sized bead of clear acrylic, placed that down at the apex area, tapped it up into place at the cuticle, and then I'm just walking it down the nail. I knew that one bead of acrylic that I'd picked up wasn't going to reach all the way to the tip of the nail, so I've blended that out, and then I've picked up another bead of acrylic, blended that back into that first bead of acrylic. This is going to minimize any shadowing you have between your beads of acrylic. Then I'm just patting and pressing that into place. And then I do believe I'm just checking the nail from all angles, and I noticed I had a little bit of a dip here and the nail was a little bit thin at the tip, so I'm going to come in with another bead of acrylic to rectify that. Then we're going to move on back to that little finger, and we're coming in with the orange. So like I said, the orange does marble a little bit, so I worked slightly different with it compared to how I did the middle finger. What you will see is as I'm placing my bead of acrylic down, I'm swirling my brush into it and mixing that pigment back into the acrylic, and then I'm kind of just painting it on and building it up. Ideally, if I was doing this set of nails on myself, I would encapsulate this orange, just because I've had to paint it on quite thin, and it would be easier to just have a thin amount of colour and then fully encapsulate. But because I was just working on my Glamour Liz hand, I haven't got to worry so much about strength and structure, so I decided I would just do it all with the coloured acrylic. But because of the fact that it marbles, I'm just taking that extra moment to swirl the colour together, and then as you can see, the colour goes on and you can't see any of that marbling. So I'm just building up the colour and also making sure that I've built up enough thickness. To be quite honest, the Model Ones coloured acrylics, I do believe they are design powders, so they should be fully encapsulated in clear acrylic. But like I said, because I'm working on the practice hand, it's not a necessity for me to worry about strength and structure. Usually I would still encapsulate anyway, but because I had built up the thickness quite a lot with the colour, I didn't. But if you was going to do this on yourself, all you would have to do is, once you've filed off the excess colour around your extended nail bed, you would then come in with your clear acrylic and encapsulate the nail. So as you can see, I'm just smoothing that out, making sure my application is neat as possible. I did build this nail up in a couple of beads because of how I was working with the acrylic. Then I'm just making sure to really smooth that out and make sure my application is as neat and as even as possible, because the neater your acrylic application, the less finish filing you're going to have to do. Now here I noticed that I just hadn't taken my acrylic right down into that corner of the nail, so I've just come in with another small bead just to do that, which was a little bit tricky, but I didn't want there to be too much of a gap because it would look a little bit uneven. I then went off camera and filed all of the nails into shape and gave them a buff to remove any scratches from my file, and we're now ready to jump in and top coat. But before top coating, actually, I'm going to give the nails a wipe with some alcohol just to make sure I've fully removed all of the dust from filing. So I've then taken one of the Model Ones top coats and I'm just going to pop a layer of this down over all of the nails. Now this particular top coat, I do find it has quite a thin consistency, so I do like to work it over the nail, especially when I'm going over acrylics with it, because when you file acrylics you can find that they sometimes get scratches in them, and you do buff a lot of these scratches out, but if you have a thicker top coat it kind of disguises those scratches anyway. So if I'm working with a thinner consistency top coat, I do kind of work it into the acrylic now a little bit more, just so that you then get that high shine. This particular Model Ones top coat did come with a gel polish kit, so ideally I would usually use this more over a gel polish set of nails, but I did want to make sure that I'd use the full Model Ones system, so that's why I went for this top coat, and it does give off a beautiful high shine as well. So I then pop that top coat in to cure for 60 seconds, and this, guys, is the finished result. I really loved how they turned out, and they felt as though they were a perfect set of nails for transitioning in from summer to autumn. But let me know what you thought in the comments below. I really hope you all enjoyed watching today's video. If you did, then please do give it a thumbs up or leave me a comment below. And if you haven't already subscribed, I would absolutely love it if you hit that subscription button. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. It's really appreciated. I really hope you're all keeping safe and well and doing okay. Lots of love. Bye bye.